Okay, I'm going to try to attempt to show you how to make one of these granny squares. So, here's the end. This is just my extra that I'm going to be drawing from. Okay, so to do it, I hold this end in my right hand, and I use my finger, and I wrap it around twice. Hold it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this top one down over it, so it's just sitting there. And then is what I'm going to do again is I'm going to pull the top one again over it. And now that will make this. That's when I stick my hook in here. And then you're going to pull. We'll call this one the feeding yarn and this one the end. So you hold the feeding yarn and you pull up and it'll make it into a slip knot. Hope you can see that. Let's see if I can switch better. There you go. That might be better. So here, I'll redo it. What's cool about that is you could just pull them and they come right out. Okay, so I got my end around my finger twice. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to grab this top one, pull it just in front of it. I'm going to grab the top one again and pull it around the tip of my finger. So I just have that. And that's when I stick my thing in here. See how this end is hanging there? I'm going to keep a hold of my feeding yarn. I'm going to pull it up. And that's how I make the slip stitch on my hook. Okay. So is what I do to start with these squares is I'm going to chain 4, which is, sounds like you've already gotten the chain in part good. So that's good. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 chains. How can we tell that that's 4 chains? I always count this right side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 chains. This is going to be the center of our square. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. Then I take my hook and I stick it through just this left side. So if I pull that back out, you can see it. It's just this. It's just one. So it's just, I'm just going to go through the top. Oops, get that out of the way. The top hook, top loop. One will be the top, one will be the bottom when you lay it on its side. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so now we have 2 loops. So since we're just going to be doing at this point, I always like to keep my fingers in here because this in here is going to be the hole that we're going to be working. So we want to make sure that that stays open. If it's really tight, let's see if I got something somewhere here. Usually I have oh, here we go. I have one. I got a whole bunch of these. They're called stitch counters, but sometimes they're just nice to put here so that you can always remember where it's at, where your hole is that you're supposed to be working. So I'll just put that there. You don't have to put that there. Like I said, I usually just put my fingers here, and that's good enough for me because I know where it's at. But if you need some additional help in the beginning, that's a nice little marker so that you'll see what I'm saying in a minute because it'll get kind of tight. So now that we got this 1, 2, we're going to do a slip stitch, and we're going to pull the first one through the second one. And sometimes you have to, so here, I'll do that again. Put it back on here. There you go. I'll show you the movement of my hook so that it can help, so that maybe you can understand it. Okay, so see how this hook is pointed like this? We can flip it around, whatever. When I'm pulling this one through, I grab it and I pull it down because I know that on this second one, see, I have it taut up here, but if we look, it looks like there's a little space there on the bottom. See my finger? You can go through that little light. So that's why when I'm pulling something through, I flick it down so that it can go through that hole, and it doesn't give me any, it doesn't hook any of these fibers down here on this one that I'm trying to go through. So there we are. That's our circle. And see if I didn't know right where that was, if this hook wasn't there and I wasn't familiar with this, I might get a little lost, but I know where that's at, but I'll keep it in there just for this example. Okay, so now here's our feeding string. Here's our end string. At some point, when you get really going and you're not just trying to get the basics down, you'll start working this in as you put new chains, new knots on it. But we don't have to worry about that right now. That's just something that you can do later. It'll help save you time, but it's definitely not a need right now. So I have my one loop. I'm going to chain 3. So I'm going to grab this, my feeding line, and I'm going to twist it around because remember, I want to go back through that hole. Perfect. So there's one. Grab it again. And see how I grab it? I grab it and I flip it. And I end up flipping it all the way around. I'm going to come through that hole again. So that's chain 2. Again, I just come in here and I flip it. It hooks it. And then I'm going through that hole again. Chain 3. This, even though we just chained 3, this is going to be considered a double crochet. This is how you start off with double crochets oftentimes, is you'll have to make this triple, but it takes the same place in the, because you can't tell here in the middle which one is a triple that we just did, or not triple, I'm so sorry, which one would be 3 singles, or which one is a double crochet. You can't tell, because essentially in the finished product, they look the same. So, okay. So I have my 3 chains, and then I'm going to make I'm going to make a double crochet. So this is what you're having issues with. So see, I still have my hole, my finger's kind of there, and I just hold it. I can kind of feel my fingers in between there, and that's just good enough for me. But again, I could be hanging on to this, this thing, and then that would help me also. But for me, if I can just touch my fingers through there on each other, I know that I have the spot held, and it's not going to close up for me. So, okay, now let's get on to a double crochet. So is what we're going to do. Take this hook. We're going to wrap it around once. So technically, we actually have 2 on our hook. The original, and then the one that we just did around. So while you have 2 on your hook, you're going to take this hook, and we're going to go through the hole. out through the other side. So we have 1, 2, then the hole. And now we're going to grab our hook again, or our yarn again with our hook. So this one, even though I'm kind of in the front here, I'm just going to swing around and grab it. And I'm going to pull it through. See, now we have 3. So I'll do that again. Okay, got my 1 on the hook. I'm going to go basically on top of it and under it. And now I have 2 threads on my hook. And then I'm going to go back around and I'm going to go through here. So I have 1, 2, plus I'm through the piece, and then here's our feeding yarn. I'm going to grab that and just pull it through. So now we should have our original, the one where we yarned over, and then the pull through. And this was kind of weird, is this is called a double, even though there's 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice when you get experienced and you're in the triple, it's called a triple stitch, and there'll actually be 4. So what I found is that even though this is called a double, I know that I have 3 lines on my hook. When I'm doing a triple, I know I have 4 lines on my hook. I know it doesn't really make sense, but that's the way that I remember it. Okay, so now we have 3. And we're going to grab this rope again, our feeding line, and see how I twist it? So I go over the line with my hook. I rest it on my hook. I pull it taut, and then I twist it around. And why I do it this way is so that I can go through that bottom where there's not tension. So I twisted it back around facing me. See if we can get that in focus. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, we got 3. Pull this up. And I go under the string, do a little flip around, and I'm just going to pull it through the first 2. And then see how I flip my hook back up to where I'm pointing in the top direction? So I went through 2, and I still have 2 on my hook now because I pulled that yarn through, and that's the second one. And then I do it again. I come back on top of it, and I kind of loop it around. And I pull it through the other 2. So now I technically have 2 double crochets, even though we know this is chain 3 and this is a double crochet, but technically it's 2 double crochets. Okay, we're going to do this again. So I'm going to go back around, and I have my original line, my yarn over line, and now I'm going to flip it around again, go through it, and then this on the back side, it's like instead of going from the front like we did, we're going to go this way. So it's kind of like opposite. So on top of it, you go this way. On the back side, you go that way. So maybe that'll help differentiate it a little bit. So there I got 3. Here, let's do this again, because I know sometimes it's hard to follow along. Okay, got my 2 triple crochets, or I'm so sorry, my 2 double crochets. I'm going to go ahead and yarn over. So go towards me up above. It's like a big circle. That's how I do it. It's like know if you can see that in the video, but I'm doing like a big circle, big over exaggerated circle. And now I have a yarn over on my hook. Original yarn over. And I'm going to basically, so how I did that circle, I'm going to basically continue it. So I got my yarn and I'm going to continue my circle through the main circle. And then remember how I said we're going to go backwards. So I'm going to change my hook like that to grab and pull through. So now I'm sitting with my original line, the yarn over, and then the pull through line. So these are 3 different moves that you took to get each one of these on your hook. This was the remainder of the last double crochet. This is your yarn over, and then this is your pull through. And again, so now we're sitting there with 3. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to pull it through the first 2. You don't have to do this fast. You can do it slow so that you can make sure that you're, not going too fast. Because if you go too fast, then you might end up pulling it through the 3rd one. I've done that. So it's fine to go slow at first. And then we're left with 2 on here. We're going to make that circle again. It's called yarn over. And I'm going to flip my hook around so that I'm pointing down so that I can go to that space. And then bam. I have 1, 2, 3 double crochets. And then for the corners, you're going to do chain 2, 1, 2. That's going to make our corner. So you can't see it, but in between here and here, that's where the chain 2 is at. So it's going to give a space for these white ones to build on. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead. I got my yarn on my hook. I'm going to yarn over. So now I got 2. I'm going to continue that circle, and I'm going to go through. And remember, I'm going to hit the yarn at the back and pull through. So now I have 1, 2, 3 on my hook again. And then I'm going to, let's get this thing out of the way. Sorry about that. Okay, now I'm going to hook this, spin my hook around, and make sure that the hook of my hook is pointing down to that extra space. Now I got 2 again. I'm going to hook around again. Boom. So now we have 1, 2, 3. We have our corner. And then we have another one. So we need to make 2 more. Two more double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, finish my circle by going through, pull it through. So now I have 3. I'm going to go ahead and yarn over, twirl. So I do that. So even though it's pointing down right now, I get it so that it's touching my hook. And then I can just twirl it and it essentially catches itself. If you notice that. Okay, so I got my 3. I'm going here. And I'm just going to twirl it so that when I pull it, it pulls through that open space. And the slower I go, the slower I can control about how fast it goes through these sets. Because if I go really fast and I'm not really paying attention, I could pull it all the way through that 3rd one. So we don't want to do that. So now here, we're halfway done. We're going to go ahead and do it again. Yarn over. I'm going to twist this. Perfect. Okay, so now we have 2 double crochets, and now we're going to need to make one more. So I'm going to go ahead and yarn over. So 1, 2. I'm going to finish that circle, and I'm going to go whoop-de-woo. And I like to point down because then it grabs my thread and pulls it through. So now I am sitting there with 1, 2, 3. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go towards the bottom. And remember, I'm going to just twist my hook so it grabs it. I want to pull it through the first 2. Now I have 2. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go back down, around, and I just keep flipping it. There you go. Okay. Now we have 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. So now what we got to do is we've got to chain 2. 1, 2. So it just makes it longer right there. Okay, now we need to make 3 more double crochets. So I'm going to have my regular string on there, and then this is my yarn over. So I go under it, and I have it on top of my hook. And I'm going to continue that circle. I'm going to go down in my hole. I'm going to grab this. And now I'm going to have 3 on my hook. Original, yarn over, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to go back under this, and I'm going to switch this. Or not switch it, but, twist it. And I'm going to pull it through the first 2. Now we have the original, pull through. Original, pull through. We're going to go like this again. And then now that I have it on my hook, I like to just spiral it just so it pulls it and it goes through that open little area that we have at the bottom of these. See that little V? Because there's not going to be any room up here. If you went like this, it would catch on those. So, okay, let's do another double crochet. So we're going to do yarn over, original yarn over. We're going to go back through the circle, and we're going to grab it. There you go. And so, yeah, it's just kind of nice to know that when you're pulling something through, it doesn't matter if you're going through this hole or if you're going through these, you're always going to want to change your hook to go like that. See how that kind of slipped off? That's because there's, oops, let me get that back on there. Hang on. It's because there was no resistance there. But if I had it up like this, like just imagine if I was trying to pull my string like that. So it's really important to have that facing down when you're trying to pull through. This is kind of a safeguard so that it won't pull through. So we have original, yarn over, and pull through. Original, yarn over, and pull through. Now I'm going to go underneath this, wrap it over my hook, flip, spiral my hook, pull it through the first 2. And then see how I went like that, and then I flipped it up. So again, that's like my safeguard to make sure I don't go too far. So now we have the original, and then the pull through. Original, pull through. We're going to go back under this string, flip our hook, grab this yarn, and pull it through the last two. Cool. We have another double crochet to make. Okay, so I'm going to do this, yarn over. See, original, yarn over. I'm going to continue this circle, pull, get the string from underneath. Remember how that is holding it, and we're going to point it down, and it pulls out that circle. Okay, so you have the original, yarn over, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. We're going to go underneath. We're going to spiral this down. And now we have two. Original, pull through. Original, pull through. I'm going to go back over the string, and once I have it over my hook like that, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to spin it. I'm going to pull it through. Okay, so now we have three double crochets, chain 2 for space, 3 double crochets, chain 2 for space, 3 double crochets. Now we need to chain 2. So I'm going to go under it again and flip it, pull through. Go under it again, spiral it, whatever you want to call it, flip it, and pull through. There's our 2 chains. That's going to be our corner. If you're getting a little tight here, that's okay. You can pull it apart, or you can just go right over the edges of it. They'll kind of space themselves out, so don't stress about that. That's some of those fine-tuning stuff that you'll get after you get a good understanding of how these work. So, okay, last set of double crochets for this round. Okay, so we're going to go under the yarn, original, yarn over, and then we're going to continue that circle, go through the hole. Remember, our hook is pointing down, so we can grab that and pull it out. So we have original, yarn over, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. Now we're going to go ahead and go around this hook again. Remember, when we first go there, it sits with the hook pointing up, and then we go under it, and once that yarn is there, we're going to spin our hook, pull it down, see how that just grabs it, and we're going to go right there through the little triangle in the bottom. Same thing. We're going to go around, and once that yarn is pulled over, we're going to use our hook to grab it. We're just going to pull through. Perfect. Okay, we're going to do it again. So we're going to go around, original, yarn over, and then we're going to go ahead and, see how this hook's pointing down, grab it, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. This, we're going to go under it again. So we got our 3 hooks on there. We're going to go around our feeding yarn under the back side. Once we got it like this, we're going to twirl our hook, pull it slowly, pull it through the first two. 1, 2. Now we have the original, pull through, original, pull through. So we're going to go ahead and go on the back side of this again. See how that hook kind of just went in a circle? Now I'm just going to spiral it. I'm going to pull it straight down. And it's going to go through that. So now this is back to being the original. And we need to make one more double crochet. See, it's getting kind of tight in there, so I just pull it apart just a little bit. And then that last one will sit right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more. Around, so we have original, yarn over, and we're going to complete the circle of the hook, go through the center. Don't worry about that, that's just that end piece. It's just a bugger. Pretty soon you'll learn how to work it in so that it's not in your way, but that's another day. Okay, now we're going to hook it facing down so that it pulls, and you pull back out that hole. Now you have the original, yarn over, pull through. Original, yarn over, pull through. We're going to go underneath our feeding yarn. Okay, remember it's facing up the hook, and then we're going to point it down so it grabs it, and we're going to go out those two. And now we got the original and the pull through. Original, pull through. So we're going to go back around, and I'm going to spiral my hook. I'm going to pull through those last two. And keep this kind of taut. And then what we need to do is we need to make 2 chains so that we can make this last corner. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to go around. See that? Chain 2. So we have our original. We're going around just like we're doing a yarn over, except for that's the extent of it. Then we flip it back, the hook down, and we just pull it through. Yarn over, hook down, pull through. And this one's a little tricky. So this is the original chain 3 that we started off with, right there. I know it looks like the rest of them, but that is the original chain 3. 1, 2, 3 is what I like to do, because we're going to need to slip stitch this into here to make it complete. So it's what I do. So it's what, sorry, I had to turn off my alarm. So it's what I do is I get out here and I could see. So here's 1, 2, 3. It's too confusing to try to count all of them, so I always just stick to the right side. Even if I have to put my finger there, then I can at least count it. Okay, so we know that this is 1, 2, 3. So this third one is what we're going to want to go through. You have a couple of choices here. You can go through just the end one, the side one that you've been counting. However, I like to make it a little bit more secure. I think it just evens out better, is if you go through, oops, get out of there, both of them. So let's do that again. Okay, so we know, see, 1, 2, 3. And you can kind of see how each one of these is like a little heart. This side and this side, this side and this side. That's actually 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3 stitch. And it's perfectly fine if you can only get it through just the right side of the heart and pull it through. That's fine. There's no wrong way to do that, actually. Just that this is my preference because I feel like it is more secure. So I go through, and instead of just going through this side, I'm going to go through this side first. Get that out of the way for you. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So we know it's both sides of this heart, makeshift heart. And I just kind of push it through. And it will go. See, I didn't split the yarn. I am actually just inside this stitch. I know you can't see it very good with my camera, sorry. So now, you'll just want to count this as 1. This is not like we've been doing where it's 1, 2, 3. This is just 1 because this is what we went through right there. This is the original. Now, so what you're going to want to do is do the same thing where you go around up on the underside, swivel your hook, pull it through that first one, and also the second one. So let me do that again. So if you have to pull it out, that's okay. Remember that you got 2 stitches here. If you, let's say you pull it out too far. Oh crap, I pulled it out too far. Okay, well now we're on to our last double crochet of that set of 3. Pull that out. Stick your hook back in there. And you want to kind of, not too tight, but you want it to be somewhat tight around there. You know, just fitting, I guess. And then we're going to go ahead and make those double crochets again. So we're going to go through the underside, spiral my hook, pull it through. There's 1 chain. We're going to go through the underside, spiral my hook, pull it through. Now I have chain 2s, 2 chains, sorry about that. And then, see, this one you might even be able to see because it's stretched out now. So this gets dropped because we're not doing anything with this right now. It's just this one that's on our hook. Then we're going to put the hook through the top chain in the chain 3 in the very beginning. So it might look like this. If you went under both sides, it might look like this if you just went under one of the sides of the hooks, or that chain 3. And that's totally fine too. I see a lot of people doing it this way on the videos, so I don't think it really matters. That's just a personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back up underneath both of them. See, now it looks like there's 2, but technically that's just 1 stitch. Okay, so I got my original with the, that's the end of the chain 2. And then the original chain 3 from the beginning. And remember, we're going to go under, and that chain, or that yarn is, feeding yarn is going to go over it. We're going to spiral this, pull it down, go through the chain 3, as well as the last of your double chain, 2 chains. So, and then is what I do is I pull this up, because you're going to want to have excess. So that's what I do there. See, there's that. And then I just clip it. I'm going to pull the feeding yarn out of it. Let me just take this thing out because I don't think that that really helped you. Okay. So now here we have the original square of this. So I know it doesn't look like much right now, but it is. It's like this. And then these ones are going to be hooked into here. These ones are going to be hooked into here. These ones are going to be hooked into here. And these ones are going to be hooked into here. So work on this, and then we'll move on to the second row.